everyone. Ogre27 Kane here today, and I want to do a review of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown for Nintendo Switch. But first,
the 7 immortals were the best warriors in the kingdom. One of them would become a legend.
Well, let's start off with a real quick overview. This is an action-adventure 2D platformer Metroidvania. This is a Prince of Persia game, but not in the same storyline as the GameCube PS2 Generation 1. This is an all-new story, all-new adventure with an all-new enemy and all-new bad guys. You have all-new allies, all-new abilities, and an all-new world to explore. This game borrows a lot of elements from history and has a lot of similar names, but not necessarily the history in the correct order from what we know. The game has a lot of set pieces to it and a lot of momentum, but everything fits very well together. So I think we should start off first of all with the gameplay. Well, the gameplay in this is what you'd expect from a 2D Metroidvania. It has a heavy emphasis though on action-adventure, and the exploration in this is pretty well done too. The storyline fits very well into what they're trying to do. It's not really on par with the GameCube PS2 story, but it does its part very well, and the set pieces look absolutely gorgeous. Now, I hate to use this real quick trope, but I have to. This game borrows a lot of elements from Dark Souls. The potion system essentially is like a flask, and you refill it at your bonfires, which are a giant tree. You also have a similar system of upgrading and talking to characters, and the game borrows heavily from the party system too. If you've played anything like Death's Gambit or Sultan's Sanctuary, then you'll be very familiar with this game. The game does have an extensive combat system, and it does have a ton of different options for how to dispatch enemies, and the enemies all take advantage of each of those combat maneuvers. But some of this can be a little difficult and a little trying at times, so you have to be patient, and I highly recommend doing the training that you get to in the first major save area. All of that combat training will highly benefit your ability to move around in this world. There is, however, a generous difficulty slider, and the map does offer itself in ways to add tons of hints to it, so the game gives you lots of options if you do find it difficult. So let's move on to the next category, the story now. The story in this game sees Sargon, who's a member of the Immortals, who are a special task force, if you will, that belong to the Persian military. They're under attack, and they can't really figure out by whom at first. You defeat a general at the very beginning in the intro, but then there's a character that is not who you think they are. It leads you on a journey, essentially, to go to a bunch of different areas and then finally to a major area that you explore, and this is where the elements of the Metroidvania set in. The game has an enormous world. I absolutely love the world in this game, and the story fits in directly with the world. As you see new areas and new enemies, you'll get those tidbits of the story information, and they will play in generously into the items that you get. There's also a huge lore menu that you can read to catch up on a lot of the pieces in between. Now, Anahita, the character you're seeing right here, kidnaps the prince, and this is essentially what sets you off in your journey. She was one of your allies and one of the Immortals, but took advantage of the situation. Your whole goal is to figure out what's going on in this strange place that you go to, and time is a huge factor in it. There's tons of things that change and go on and just occur in the world. All of your friends and allies have their benefits and purpose, and as you come in contact, it will change things. So let's hit the combat now. Well, the combat in this is very fast-paced and action-oriented. It's also designed heavily around the parry and counter system, if you will, as well as your dodge, which is a slide maneuver. You can also juggle enemies up in the air, and there are tons of combos to connect all these together. As you get further, you'll find a bow and arrow and a chakram that you can chain together in these combos too, and you'll find other maneuvers like time abilities too that come in contact with your combat, I should say. All of these things connect very, very well together, but are highly complex, and you have to learn them one at a time, and that's why I highly recommend doing the training area, because it will give you each one of these combat abilities in succession and kind of reinforce their abilities to you one at a time. Then as you learn them, the enemies in the game that require these combat abilities in these systems become a lot easier to handle because you're aware and well equipped to deal with them at this point. There's also a currency called time crystals that you get from defeating enemies, and you also can get these time crystals for doing these training exercises. So it's kind of a win-win. You use these to upgrade your character and to buy new amulets, which you equip in this game to give you more little perks, if you will. Different ways to personalize your character and utilize the abilities that best serve your purpose. The last thing I gotta say about the combat in this game is that it really impressed me, and I was really surprised at its depth. So let's move on now to the graphics and animations. Well, the graphics in this game are absolutely gorgeous. As I previously stated, I believe it runs at a true 1080-60, and my record method doesn't really do it justice. This game is absolutely fantastic on the performance side. There's not really any frame rate issues or anything like that, and the bosses are very consistent and telegraph their moves, and they use the graphical elements around them to do this. On top of that, the game has a ton of detail with every area that you're in, and something that looks as simple as a background element could be a puzzle element. The other cool thing that I have to mention is that all of these animation features fit in together very, very uniquely with the cutscenes, and they blend back and forth, and I believe that was due to the game being built fully in 3D and then turned into a 2-dimensional game. This allowed it to have a fantastic animation quality that I don't believe was intended, but came out and made the game even better. Now, all of that praise aside, I do have to mention that in my 15 hours or so of gameplay, the game has crashed on me a couple of times. Both of these were due to me entering and exiting the save menu, pause menu over and over, but I did have to mention that it might have a problem, so let's hit controls and audio now. Well, let's start off with the controls, and the controls in this game are pretty well done for everything that they ask of you. The game requires a lot of quick, subtle movement, and I really thought I was going to have trouble with the bow and arrow, but it surprised me. I was able to get accurate shots off with everything. There's a lot of quick maneuvers and a lot of fast platforming to this game, and I could see how it might be a little frustrating. Take your time, learn the controls, and learn all of the combat features too that will help you through this traversal, and the game will benefit you. The only other thing I want to mention about controls is that you have to use the control stick and not the D-pad, and this kind of bothered me a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of that. So that aside, that was really my only issue with the control scheme. Let's talk about the audio, and frankly, I'm going to show some of it off now, folks. Pretty awesome if you ask me. It's got a very subtle hint undertone of the music itself, but all of the sound effects and everything going on in the world fit very well together, and it doesn't sound too cluttered or overwhelming. That being said, when you get into a boss fight, there's some heavy metal music that plays, and it gets really exciting and upbeat. I absolutely love this. Fantastic. So let's talk about the conclusion now. Well, in conclusion, this game surprised me. When it was shown at the Nintendo Direct, I think I'm the only person I know who was excited. All of the Prince of Persia games have impressed me, and I've enjoyed every single one. Yes, I know there's a lot that people consider to be pretty underwhelming, but the game has always had a solid platforming base, and I believe Ubisoft has always treated Prince of Persia with somewhat of a decent amount of respect. Considering what they've done with a lot of their other franchises, I really didn't expect them to go this route, and I'm highly happy with this, and I really hope they choose to pursue this and give us a sequel. This game was very well done, and it's worth all the praise it's getting right now. I recommend you play it, and I think it's a fantastic buy. Is it worth $50? Probably not to you. It certainly was to me. If you're a fan of Metroidvanias, then I believe it would be to you too. If you're willing to wait for a sale on it, don't wait too long, because I don't think they'll print too many. Well, I think that's going to do it for today's video, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. It was a blast to make. I upload every single Monday. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day. This is Ogre 27 Kane, signing out.